Hello, everybody. This is Heather Alexandra for Kotaku.com, a video game website about video games. I am joined in the booth by no one. It is just me in the booth here in Brooklyn, in what's technically my apartment. And we are playing Resident Evil 3 Remake, a game which I really like, although it's proven to be a little bit divisive when it comes to some critics. I think some people went in expecting something very much like Resident Evil 2 when I think some folks don't remember that Resident Evil 3 is a pretty action-heavy game. A couple things going on. I am wearing a classic Jill Valentine outfit from Resident Evil 1. I have... this is not the demo. We are starting where the demo starts because the demo starts near the start of the game. I've also done one other thing, and I've given myself an infinite ammo pistol. Some people might say, oh, fucking games journalists, suck my butt. And I don't know, I've played through this game like 3 times now, and I just want to have an infinite ammo pistol. And so I'm going to do that, because we're going to go through this game pretty quick. It's not a long game, and because I've played through it multiple times, I can get through things pretty fast, including this opening segment, but that means we're going to see a lot more Nemesis and a lot more stuff. So these opening segments are going to look familiar to anybody who has used, the PSN or Xbox or whatever else to... play the demo. I was trying to do a perfect dodge there and I messed it up. Because Jill Valentine in this game has access to a dodge, which if you use perfectly, you can dodge right past some zombies. I also have a lockpick right now to get me into some locations a little early to see if I can pick up some things. Nice thing about this game is that it has a lot of challenges that carry over from playthrough to playthrough, which means you can find a lot of different items through multiple playthroughs and get rewards for it, and then you can use the rewards, which are essentially just like points, right? Like, hey, you got so many points for doing XYZ thing, and then you can use it to buy things like, for instance, that cool Jill Valentine outfit or this gun. I feel like I'm cheating a bit, but I do want to get through this game kind of fast to show you some of the cool stuff that wasn't in the demo. How's my quarantine going? You know, it's okay. Getting a little stir crazy. I'm in the middle of a lot of stuff, just juggling a lot of things, looking out for family. I have some family who have been exposed to the virus and things like that, so trying to be careful. And we'll get through this. This first segment is going to be pretty quick. We'll get to some Nemesis action and some other things, and it should be fine. One thing I did do is I skipped the opening segment of the game, not because I can't show it to you necessarily. I think I technically can, but Capcom was like, try not to show people it if you can avoid it, because the opening of this game is very, very good and freakishly exciting and wonderful. Doesn't the Resident Evil 3 remake come out tomorrow? I'm a games journalist, you dummy, you dumb goofer. I get access to things way before you do, you goofy goober. And the streaming embargo is up, so I can do whatever I want. Yeah, I know a lot of hackers. My good friend Lance McDonald and some other Bloodborne hackers just hooked me up, got me everything I needed. Yeah, I know John Capcom. I do like the people at Capcom quite a bit. They're all very, very friendly folks. Every time I've gone to do an interview at Capcom or dealt with folks, it's been pretty good. So the only catch of me using this pistol is that I don't get to modify it. Throughout the game, you're going to see a lot of different chances to find item upgrades, to unlock some pretty cool stuff, depending on if you beat Nemesis and a couple other things. So we're not going to do that. I just have this pistol. I just have it because I'm streaming and I want to be able to focus and chill and chat with you, show off this game. I really like this game. A lot of, I was maybe mentioning it at the start. I don't know when what was up when my mic was off or on. But I think this game's been a little divisive in critical reception. And I don't quite get it. Which is to say that I think a lot of people were expecting something slower like Resident Evil 2's remake, which I like. I like that remake a lot. I don't love it as much as other people do. I think some people treat that like it's a game changer, and it's not. It's just a very, very well made reimagining of an already great game. But Resident Evil 2 is in like one central location and very focused. Resident Evil 3, even in the original, you spend some time in Raccoon City streets, and then the game starts to move a lot. Resident Evil 3 is a lot more action focused than I think some people remember. So the pace, accordingly for Resident Evil 3, even the remake, is faster. My only complaint, first off, you should knife every zombie you find in the game, always, when they fall down. My only complaint is that I wish they used Nemesis a bit more like the original, which is to say that in the original, Nemesis was hunting you down a little bit more often. Here he kind of comes and goes in segments, right? Which is fine. Those segments are really exciting. You're going to get to see some of that today. But it feels less random than the PlayStation version, where it was really kind of hard to know where he was coming from. Here it's like I kind of know, especially now that I've played through this game like maybe 3 times. Yeah, you got to knife him in the face or else they'll lunge at you. I kind of know when Nemesis will show up. That doesn't mean he's not scary. I think he's like super scary. I think as an enemy, he's harder to deal with than Mr. X, even though the anxiety of having Mr. X pound through the streets is really scary. Or pound through the police station is really scary. It's a different type of horror. This is about people getting in your face. It's about the pace being really really intense, as opposed to something softer. Is the infinite ammo pistol a pre-order perk or difficulty setting? I've beaten the game many times and have unlocked stuff. It is what that is. Just like any other Resident Evil where you can unlock infinite ammo, machine guns, or whatever else. I have taken it upon myself to go, you know what I want? I just want a gun so I can focus on talking with all of you. Yep, so it's just, I've played plenty of challenges. Like I've said, I've played through this game like 3 times. I want to play through on, there's some really high difficulty options in this game that I really want to sit down and play through. But I also need to take a break from a lot of things. What should I do here? Well, I got hit by a zombie, so I'll do that and I'll grab this grenade. Grenades will be useful later when Nemesis shows up. I'm playing on the default difficulty at the moment. So it's, enemies aren't the most resilient. I think the default difficulty still has a couple moments where you're going to be really close to dying. This game is, in a lot of ways, way more eager to push you into tight spaces with lots of zombies. It's very action focused, so there's a lot of enemies. Right? Which means that there are some segments where if you're not careful, you're going to be, 1 or 2 hits from dying, and if that happens to you at the wrong time, Nemesis will be around. And like that could suck, right? It could genuinely suck to be like, wow, I'm like 1 hit point away from dying, and then all of a sudden you hear stars. It's like, fuck that. Right? Very scary. Anyone know how I can play early? You can wait for its release like a normal human being. Probably. Or I imagine, I don't know, if you have an Australian PlayStation Network account, you could probably play it there, maybe? That tends to happen if you're like an Aussie. A couple things that I kind of want to show off, even though they're small things. It's like, so like I shot off his limbs. I think it might be because there's more zombies on screen in this game sometimes than in Resident Evil 2, but the limbs don't kind of slurch off or break off in quite as interesting ways. You tend to just blow them off. I think that's part of this game having a lot more stuff going on in terms of how many enemies are going on. In terms of a couple other things. So there are some, I would hesitate to call them visual downgrades because that makes it sound, dramatic in a way that I don't like. A lot of times gamers talk about visual downgrades and they lose their shit. I think it feels like kind of a technical accommodation for making sure that they can deal for certain things. Yeah, somebody in the chat says compromise. That feels like a much more fitting term to me. Taking a minute to mix some of these herbs. I don't need them yet, but you might as well mix them, right? I will take the first aid spray. To me, it's weird. This game doesn't necessarily feel like its own standalone thing, even though it very much is. To me, it feels like a big-time companion piece. I'm just trying to get these zombies to come closer to Resident Evil 2, which I think the original Resident Evil 3 even was, right? You can shoot these things to stun zombies, by the way. Get you some headshots. Was there a Resident Evil 1 remake? Yes, there was, but it was for the GameCube. I am of the opinion that Resident Evil, the original, does not need to be remade, because that remake, trying to dodge out of the way, is perfect. I think the GameCube remake of Resident Evil, which you can play now on PlayStation 4 and things like that, is perfect. It remakes that game perfectly. I've had a lot of people since my review came out or in other forums kind of talk about the things they want to see remade next. Some people have said, you know, I want a remake of Resident Evil 4, or some people have kind of been like, hey, I want some sort of remake of the original. I think we have a good enough remake of the original, and I'm not convinced that Resident Evil 4 needs a remake. I think it would be cool in this style. I think it would look very nice, but that game, first off, is available on basically every platform. And also, it just already plays really well. Is there decent puzzles? There's not as many puzzles as I would like in this, I will say that. But there are a couple that at least took me a little bit of time to get through. There's some of the segments in this game, you know, from the original don't exist in this game. The clock tower stuff is really pared down, basically non-existent. They spend a lot more time in the hospital and stuff in this game. This is technically supposed to be a safe room. I shared in my review, for those of you who want to know a little bit more about the Nemesis, safe rooms are technically only where there's like cool, chill music playing. It doesn't necessarily mean a room where there's a typewriter and an item box, which means that there was a chase sequence where I ran in there trying to get away from Nemesis, and he entered and killed me. It was terrifying. It was incredibly scary. Kind of the same way that Mr. X heading into the main hall in Resident Evil 2 Remake was scary. Right, totally. Will a slower player complete this in about 10 hours? I would say closer to 8. This is faster than Resident Evil 2 Remake. Resident Evil 2 Remake itself is already a fast game. The only reason it feels a little longer is because you're playing two characters, right? But even going through Leon's A scenario or like Claire's A scenario in that game, you tend to come out anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, right? This moves a little bit faster just because of the nature of the plot. And, you know, you're not juggling multiple characters. So I finished this in about, you know, what was it? It was like 6 to 7 hours. But also, please bear in mind that when I play something for review, I play it really fast. The pace at which I play through games for review... here's a fellow. I want to see if I can do a perfect dodge roll. No, it's really hard. At least in the dark here. I do have healing. Right? No, I can't do it right now. I'm really bad at it. Sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. It depends on the enemy. I mess it up with zombies all the time. You know, the pace at which I play through things for review is significantly faster than any pace I think folks should play through a game normally. Which is to say that, you know, when I reviewed Dishonored 2, people got mad at me because I completed it in 8 hours. But that was just an initial playthrough of me getting through it at like reviewer pace. I went back and played that game. There's a lot more you can do. It's not an 8-hour game by any means. This game is, you know, you're going to be replaying a lot of stuff. You might be going for challenges or higher difficulties. It's just like Resident Evil 7, which itself was anywhere from like a 6 to 10 hour game, depending on your pace. I think for my review, I finished it in about 7 hours. But I still go back and play Resident Evil 7 all the time, especially on like Madhouse difficulty and things like that. We're going to get introduced to our villain.
Careful.
Our villain, Nikolai.
Come on, don't look at me like that, all right? I'm not infected. No, wait, please!
What the fuck?
This is the PlayStation. I'm playing on a PlayStation 4 Pro.
No wonder so many of you dead.
And what are you, UBCS? Killing your own people?
He would have turned. There's your sense of self-preservation.
I'm usually not somebody who likes photorealism in games. I prefer when things are stylized, but gosh damn, the RE engine, which doesn't stand for Resident Evil, stands for Reach for the Stars or something, is really, really impressive. Right, and in this case, because it makes it feel a little bit more like I'm watching like a lower budget movie or something, I can deal with it, right? I think there are dogs this way, if I remember correctly. Yes, dogs. I hate dogs in Resident Evil games. The worst. It got up again. I'd rather waste shotgun shells on getting dogs. Is photorealism used in the Resident Evil 2 games as well? Yes. In the remake, it's the exact same engine. It's, you know, if you don't know Resident Evil 3, there are some times in Resident Evil 3 where, especially at the start of Nemesis on the original, the 1999 version for the PlayStation, you immediately go into the Raccoon Police Department. A lot of spaces are reused, and that is somewhat the case here as well. There are some locations you go in here that happen in here. How much is Brad Vickers in this? About the same as he is in the original. He shows up at the start, and poor Brad Vickers, things don't go well for him. Thought they'd use him a little bit more. No, like I said, the pace of this game moves very fast. So, you know, I feel like I'm cheating. I guess I am cheating, right? But they use him about the same amount. Kendo shows up, which I believe maybe he shows up in the original. I don't remember, but Kendo does show up in this as well. This is why you knife enemies, by the way. They don't go down the way that you think. Oh, he grabbed me. I'm getting bit a little bit more here than I think I'd like. You gotta knife him in the face, though. That's the secret. It's important. Will they release a remake of 4? I hope not. I really hope not. I don't think that game needs to be remade. 100%. That is a perfectly put together game. I don't think it needs a remake. I don't think a remake would improve it. As a matter of fact, I think, like, I don't know. I think because the remake of that game would essentially just be a graphical upgrade for that game, whereas the remake for Resident Evil 2 was planting it into a new format, right? A kind of a reimagining. That wouldn't be the case if you did a remake in this. Code Veronica they could do. Code Veronica would be interesting because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities there to really do some strange stuff, because Code Veronica itself is a very odd game that I don't think many people have really played. I like Code Veronica, but I'm also a Dreamcast snob. Are high difficulties like Resident Evil 2's remake, ink ribbons and item management? Yes, I mean, take what you know from the Resident Evil 2 remake and apply it to this. It's that game, just with new characters and a different scenario, right? In a normal world back in the day, we might call this an expansion pack. Even though I still think this game mostly justifies itself. I think it's a very good game, right? I don't need that item there because that's technically where you find the lockpick usually. We are about to go into an area that's a little different than the original, but you're going to see familiar enemies if you know the game. This is a drain demos. Sometimes people call them bloodsuckers or brain suckers or whatever. They're fucking gross. You'll see why in a second. Oh no, I dropped my controller because it's vibrating. So these enemies kind of, they infect you with little parasites, and if you don't use an herb, you will fucking die. They will do that. They will burrow out of you and just kill you. They have that happen in a cinematic? Yes. I think it's like they mean it as a tutorial moment, right? To be like, hey, this is how this goes. So I need to turn on all these power breakers, but also there's going to be tons of fucking spider dudes who want to lay their freak ass monster eggs in me. So this is a cool segment. The shotgun's really useful here. Tends to take them out in a hit. At least on normal difficulty. They're a little squishy, right? Because they're just bugs. But you want to move slowly here. Because they can jump out and get you. So I could only show so much of the game. Oh, they're coming behind me. Shit. Oh, god damn it. Oh, so gross. I hate it. Shit. If you're not careful in this in this level, they can definitely get you. Because also, anytime you get rid of the parasites, you're kind of helpless for a minute. Yeah, these things are nasty. Super nasty. It's a very interesting take on what the Drain demos were in the original. Right? This game is a little bit more set-piece focused, especially in comparison to the Resident Evil 2 remake. Which means you'll end up having segments like this where it's very focused on individual enemies or kind of individual gimmicks. Which are things like that. Yes, infinite ammo. I allowed myself... I've unlocked many things playing this game, and I've given myself infinite ammo for this one stream. You can fucking deal with it if it bothers you. I've played through this game multiple times now. I want to chill with y'all. So I have given myself a gift. Well, two gifts. The other one is the Jill Valentine outfit. So I'm cheating a little, but yeah, it's a pandemic, and you know what? I did, not to toot my own horn too much, but I did 3 reviews. I went from Neo 2 to Doom Eternal to this. I would love to stream Doom Eternal for y'all, even though I have dozens of strange thoughts about Doom Eternal. I mostly like it. I think the combat is a little busier than Doom 2016 in a way that I don't know how I feel. But I mostly like it. But I did Neo 2 to Doom Eternal to this, and I'm tired. Right? Dodge underneath them. It sucks. I want to show you off the perfect dodge. It's a really cool skill. Works mostly with zombies, and especially with Nemesis. the perfect dodge roll. So what happens if you do a perfect dodge? You do a roll, which slows down time and gives you time to do like a super special aim action, which is cool. Let's flip this, and we gotta flip like one more, huh? I hear them. I'm fairly certain for this segment, they actually spawn in enemies sometimes when you're grabbing those power breakers. They must, right? It's the same way how, even though in Resident Evil 2 Remake, Mr. X is actually patrolling the police station as an entity, like, sometimes he's just in rooms way far away from you. Every now and then they do teleport him near you, and I feel like that's kind of what's going on here sometimes. It's a thing that happens a lot in, like, any horror game, right? It's like sometimes horror games cheat because that can be really scary. The best horror games are the ones that know how to cheat really well. Is Nemesis random in this? Sort of. Not as random as I would like. There are definitely segments where he will show up, and it is like, bam, he is showing up. And then you got to deal with him. Because this is, like I said, it's much more of a set-piece focused game. Oh, Jesus. There's one up there. Snuck up on me. He's not as random as in Resident Evil 3, like the original. Yeah, the 1991 version. 1999, excuse me. So I think in some ways Nemesis isn't used in this game the way that I would like. But I still think he's scary, and in the segments where you deal with him, sometimes you do feel really overwhelmed. Right? So I think a lot of the reason why I like this game is because, quite frankly, Resident Evil 3, the original, is my favorite Resident Evil game. I think it's a very smart game. Jesus! A lot of them. So for me, I took to this one, you know, my expectations were high. I don't think my expectations were always met, but I still very much do like it. I'm actually going to give myself full health. You know, it falters a little bit there. It's a little short. Nemesis isn't used completely the way I like, even though sometimes it's really scary. You know, I think people coming in here expecting the same slower pace as Resident Evil 2 Remake will be disappointed, but I think we need to remember that the original Resident Evil 3 was also a faster paced game in general. A lot more kind of propulsive, right, is a decent word for it. Taking a first aid spray. And then I want this grenade for sure. Out of Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3, what do I think they did a better job on? I think it's about the same. I think people treat the Resident Evil 2 remake as more impressive than it is. Which I need to stress isn't me saying that it's bad. It's not. That's a very good game. An incredibly good game. But that game, and I think this game too, lack a certain aesthetic identity that Resident Evil 7 had, which I really enjoyed. That game had a much more clear art, inspirations and things like that in a way that I really liked. So we gotta head back. So I like these games. Ah, fuck, there he is. One thing we can do is grenades help a lot. Give me a chance to run, and then I'll get this as well. It's gonna stun him, not for long. So I gotta get the fuck out. That's why you save your explosives. But he's not gonna get stunned long, and I gotta run around a lot. Yeah, Zombies have some big time range in this game, and my dodge skills are a mixed bag.
Carlos, that thing is still alive. It's after me.
What? Run! Come back to the station.
So out of the 3 that came out recently, Resident Evil 7 I think is the smartest one, right? For whatever that's worth considering. Yeah, as long as this music is playing, I gotta be super fucking careful, right? I don't know when he's gonna catch up to me. So now we're in a segment where this dude can just show the fuck up. And so I gotta be really fucking careful. A lot of zombies there. And I gotta do a puzzle. Oh shit. Do I have the bolt cutters? I wanna go over here. This could be a mistake. He's got to be close, huh? It's hard to know. It's hard to know, like, when and where he might show up. Yep, that's him. Okay, shit. Oh, the worst. He's scary as fuck. I don't know if he'll follow me into this room. Because I gotta do the puzzle. Fuck. Oh, dude.
Okay, back again.
Don't you fucking dare. Did he run? Did he slurp away? Oh, he slurped away. He didn't follow me this time. Gives us time to do a puzzle. Thanks, buddy.
Carlos, I'm in the control room. Now what?
Nice. Now you gotta plot out a route.
Okay, give me a sec.
Um,
All right, where are we headed?
I know this puzzle and I'm still gonna mess it up. St. Michael's, Raccoon Station, Faust.
Can you program that in?
Hey, I'm Super Cop. Consider it done.
St. Michael's, Raccoon, Faust, St. Michael's 1? Is this the same Heather that writes the Final Fantasy XIV articles? Yes. I hope that leads to a follow-up where you're like, you're pretty cool, and not, I want to punch you in the face. Is this the solution?
Unable to establish your route. Please
It
try
needs to
again.
go to SA2.
Valid
There we
route
go.
Confirmed.
Carlos, it's me. I finished inputting
You can tell I've played the game a little bit.
Jill, you are amazing. Tough as nails, too. Hurry back to the station. We'll make sure the subway's ready to depart.
Ah. Nemesis is going to be around, though. You're part of the reason I've been obsessed with the game for a while. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. It's one of these.
Fuck.
This is a moment where I'm going to shoot a thing in the leg. How did I unlock infinite ammo? I've beaten the game multiple times. Every time you beat the game, you complete... Or there are certain challenges you can complete, including things like, hey, unlock every door, or hey, complete the game in so many hours. Which I have done. And so I decided to spend some of the points I unlocked from doing that on a pistol with infinite ammo so that I could focus on today's stream on just chilling with all of y'all. Normally I don't think I would be playing with this, but I wanted to do it because I was streaming. Oh, that's right, he's right here. Ha! Fuck off. And then I'm just going to use the shotgun to get past some of these zombies really quick. Run away from him while I have him stunned. Again, I've played this game a few times. And then these are things that I can't use with my pistol, but I could. I also forgot to grab another item from earlier. But if I wanted to, right, I could do something like this, right? And now I got an upgraded pistol. Not going to use it right now. Do I still need that? Maybe I do. And then here we can, oh, it's in my item box. I think there's an achievement for not using the item box, just like some other games and a couple other things. So, you know, is what it is. This should get me a couple of items. Grenade, which is always appreciated. I forget where the blue gem is. Maybe I can't get it right now. This should be a thing for my shotgun. Yes. Perfect. Cool. Which is scarier, The Evil Within or the remakes? I think The Evil Within 2 is a very scary game.
Nice job, Super Cop.
I don't think Resident Evil games are that scary.
Mostly.
I think Resident Evil 7 can be scary the first time you play through. Especially that first segment where Jack's really coming after you a lot. It gets a little less scary as time goes on. I don't think the Resident Evil 2 scary. The Resident Evil 2 scary. The Resident Evil 2 remake is scary in very specific places. Mostly when Mr. X is around and you don't have control over like what's going down. Same thing for this game, like when Nemesis shows up. Sometimes it's, you know, in the segments where Nemesis is really on your ass, it's really hard to know, you know, hey, I stunned him. Oh, well, how much time do I have? A little hard to say.
Oh, come on. Not again.
But you'll see, like, every now and then, like here, there are story moments where, like, oh, it's Nemesis time, for sure.
I'll buy you some time.
Hey, wait. Wait, Joe. No!
Oh, he's coming.
Creepy ass stalker. You want stars? I'll give you stars.
Fuck you. He's scary. Like, he's definitely a harder enemy than Mr. X, right? Yeah, he's super fast. You should see him when he's, like, running full stop. Get his attention even more. Gonna shoot him and knock him into these barrels. Yeah, usually I think it's at the end of the original game when she's firing the rail cannon. When she's like, ah, you want stars? I'll give you stars. But they put it in here, which is good. I think this might just take me into the sewers. Yeah. But we'll keep going for a bit. They don't want me to show, like, late game stuff, really. I'm fine showing you early and mid-game stuff. Like, that's fine. One thing we're going to encounter here in the sewers are the hunter betas, if people remember those. And one thing that you might not like about this game compared to Resident Evil 2 Remake is that there's a lot more enemies in this game that can just kill you in one hit if you're not careful. Especially the hunters, both here and then other hunters later in the game. Or maybe these are the hunter gammas. But they can kill you pretty easy. So you have to be really careful and use the right weapons. Thankfully, at least on normal mode, game's pretty good about giving you what you need in most cases. You just kind of have to be really careful, right? I think you can still do the thing going downstairs in this game. I think it's going upstairs too, right? Right. All that speedrun stuff. Are there any items here? I forget. No, I don't think there are. There's usually items hiding to the side here. That looks like a grenade. I could show you what happens if you get eaten by these things. I got grenades, though, which is nice. Because they got, ready? Big fucking mouths. Where they will kill you big time. I think I got those. People do tell me I have a calming voice. And then sometimes people are like, you're an idiot. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Where I have a calming voice, but also I'm at least partially an idiot. These are useful, right? So hunters can't deal with fire, is their big weakness. So thankfully, if you look in the right places, go the right areas first, you can get the grenade launcher pretty early in the game. Really useful tool. Especially on normal difficulty and such. Otherwise, the thing you can do is you can just shoot these enemies until they're stunned and run around them, but that's really risky and scary. But thankfully, flame rounds. Like, the game's kind of teaching you flame rounds are like a big deal for these guys right now. Else you can shoot them until they stagger and run around, but if they do that big move where their mouths open up large, then they can swallow you in one hit. Would I say this game is better than Resident Evil 2 Remake? It feels more confident. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake sometimes struggled to figure out what it wanted to be besides just Resident Evil 2, which sounds like a dumb sentence for me to say. But what I mean by that is that game didn't quite have a sense of identity besides just reconstructing this old thing. I like Resident Evil 2 Remake a lot, but I keep on stressing throughout this stream, I don't think it's the brilliant thing people say. I think it's a very smart and very good thing. Which one do I like more out of the two? I love Jill Valentine. I love Resident Evil 3. So I like this game quite a bit. But really, they kind of complement each other, right? One is a game that's really about being caught in a few places and having maybe a very old school Resident Evil experience. And then another is, you know, Resident Evil 3 kind of bridges that gap between, Resident Evil 4 comes in after that. So we start to get a push towards a little bit more action in the series. The original Resident Evil 3 is already a pretty action-heavy game, all things considered. So it kind of depends on what you want. You kind of play... I think you would play which one you're in the mood for, which is like the first one. Like Resident Evil 2 Remake is like, man, I want to be in a spooky place. Resident Evil 3 Remake is going to be like, I kind of want a little bit more action, right? Both are good in their own regards. But I think some people coming into this game were trying to treat it like Resident Evil 2, which was a mistake. But even the original Resident Evil 3 sometimes I feel like is a little bit contentious of a game, or at least definitely was at the time. It's still not that difficult of a game. Yeah, I've been messing up the dodges this entire time, but if I want to get a perfect dodge down, because I can show you some of that. Right, she's a more competent character. She has a knife that doesn't break, right? Some changes to this game just make it a bit more of an action game, right? Like here I am in the sewers blowing up enemies with my flame rounds or whatever. Not necessarily something that happens at this kind of pace or intensity, in the Resident Evil 2 remake. They're both very different things. Oh, Jesus. I almost kind of want to show you what happens when these enemies eat you whole. It's really violent. But you have to be, like I said, you have to be careful. This game, because it's an action game, it's kind of punishing. And because you have like a perfect dodge, like witch time, bullet time thing, it's definitely more like a straight up action game. What version is this? I'm playing on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Which I haven't run into many glitches here. Does it have the dynamic difficulty thing? I think a little bit. It definitely adjust your item drops, right? That's a thing the series has been doing for a long time now, kind of dynamically adjusting your weapon drops. Is it adjusting, say... Shit. Is it adjusting enemy difficulty, like AI or anything like that? Harder to say. But Resident Evil 2 did do that, right? Resident Evil 2 changed a lot of things. It changed the amount of damage that certain enemies did. So I have to imagine, like, there's no reason that Capcom would be like, we're just gonna ditch that for a game that's basically in the same engine with most of the same assets, or like very similar assets. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Oh, I gotta go and grab the power pack thing from going through here. I gotta grab this. Some leapfrogging using the same key for a bunch of different things. Yeah, so Resident Evil 3 is my favorite for sure. I might, after this, I started a replay of Resident Evil 7. That replay is going to take me like 2.5 hours. That's not a long game for me anymore. So I might want to do a full replay of Code Veronica, which is, I think, quite frankly, the hardest of the classic Resident Evil games. It's just a very punishing game in a lot of regards. Right? Like, and I think that's the case for like speedrunners or people who do challenge runs too, because a knife-only run of Code Veronica is intense. It's really hard. I don't know if I could ever do it. Right? And I play games at moderate, hard difficulties, and I like to do challenges. I used to speedrun a little bit of Breath of the Wild and things like that. Like, I try to learn games as deeply as I can, but sometimes it's tricky. Have I played the online portion? Yes, me and Paul are going to put out a video on that tomorrow. So I didn't put that in my review. I'm treating it as its own separate thing because it really does truthfully feel
Can you hear me now?
like a separate game to me. It doesn't feel like something like Resident Evil 3. It feels like its own thing.
I lost him.
I think it's okay. I think when more people are playing it, I can judge it a little bit better because it's harder to get into matches right now. And I think it's, when it works, and then other times it's kind of a mess. Ooh. It's our buddy Nemesis. With his trusty flamethrower. Can I do my perfect dodge here? I'm really bad at it today. Why am I so bad at it? It's fucking annoying. It's always when you stream and want to show off cool stuff is like when you suck at it. Right? That's like the rule.
You can use weapons?
Unless you're like a streamer who does it all the time. I think we have... I was gonna say, I think we have some healing items in here, so... Might as well. Explosive A, but we can't pair it with anything. We're gonna grab this. Is the dodge mechanic hard to pull off? Sort of. There's a perfect dodge. Kind of like doing a very perfect evasive thing in Bayonetta or other games. Where you just dodge roll past people and kick their ass. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm doing it too early. Frustrating. Which way am I going? Gotta go up.
I gotta get out.
When you nail it, it feels great. And I don't know, playing casually, I've done okay with it. But I think this is what some reviewers are talking about when they say that there's more set PC type stuff with Nemesis. It's kind of what I mean too, where it's like, man, we are building up towards a fight. And this feels a little bit more like I'm watching an action film, right? Like it or love it, or like leave it, right? Is he more stressful than Mr. X? I don't know. I feel like Mr. X wanders in a way that's harder to predict. But I also think that Nemesis is fucking fast and hard to deal with. In some cases, you can stun him if you have the right stuff, but the streets in this game are pretty narrow, so he can feel like really tough to deal with. Do I think this is more or less difficult than RE2? On default difficulty, I think this might be a little bit more difficult. Just because it tends to throw more enemies at you, right? In certain scenarios, like there were a lot, I've been in certain scenarios in this game where there are rooms packed with enemies and you really got to be careful. So it depends. Also, enemies have more one-hit kills, right? Kind of like I said, so that can be frustrating if you don't know how to do it. Some of the enemies, in order to really damage them, you have to do perfect dodges. You have to, like, perfectly parry them. So here we go, Nemesis.
Maybe I can hit the fuel tank.
Shit. Dude, fuck you. Sometimes you can bait him into some stuff. Oh, I gotta get far away from him there. God, which way is he coming from? Shit. Dude, get away. I need... Oh, he's not dropping, like... There's, like, no grenade, like... rocket launcher stuff here near here. Are there any enemy... Oh yeah, there's some. Cool. Yeah, so a survival horror game gives you infinite ammo right from the start. This is the point where I actually sound fucking annoyed. I've beaten this game like 4 times. Maybe I have infinite ammo because I've unlocked it. Not because I'm on some fucking easy mode games journalist shit. Oh, he dodged it, piece of shit. Did I get him? Is he down? Drive me bonkers. Maybe 3? Maybe not 4. I think this is the 4th time I've started the game and played through these early segments. Is there a new game plus? You just go through higher difficulties or like go through shit with unlocked things like I am, right? It's not really new game plus. Not in the way that you're thinking, probably. Fucking press kit, give me infinite ammo. Bite my ass. This is the full game. This is 100% the full game. As far as I'm aware, the embargo is up, and if it's not, oopsie daisy, my bosses were wrong. But, you know.
Carlos, it's Jill. Do you read me?
Loud and clear. You all right?
Yeah. Bastard's dead.
Good. Fuck him. What were you thinking? Turning yourself into bait. You could have been killed.
Don't start. I did what I had to.
I know. And
Let me climb.
the subway's ready to
What
go.
can and can't I show you from some of these segments? I'm probably getting to the point where I'm like, what cutscenes do I need to skip? Let's find out for a second. I'm gonna look at my emails. Woohoo. There's like story stuff they don't want to show off. Yeah, I'm doing okay with what I can show off. Is there a good amount of story added on top of the original? It feels like a streamlining of the original, right? One thing, if I do have a major complaint about this game, is that it loses the branching path stuff, which I thought was a really interesting aspect of the original Resident Evil 3. I really wish that the branching path stuff was here to give a little bit more variety on playthroughs. Maybe hide some cool unlockables or secrets or story moments on those segments, but that doesn't really happen here. If you don't know the original, it had moments where you could sometimes make decisions about what Jill would do next, kind of like you're playing a choose your own adventure, where it's like, hey, do you toss this gas lantern to like blow up Nemesis, or do you run away? Hey, do you go straight into the police station, or do you try and fight? That's not the case here. Someone's asking if this is the gun shop from Resident Evil 2. That should answer your question.
Kendo, you're all right.
Yeah, all right to stretch. Sorry, I got a little jumpy there. Didn't know quite what to expect.
No shit.
Yes, you can collect weapon parts to get better guns. You get different weapon parts by defeating Nemesis and a couple other things.
That's good thinking.
And this is our buddy Kendo.
When we get out, there's gonna be a lot to do.
I won't play too much more because I actually, like, Lord forbid I show off, like,
What's wrong?
so much of the game before it's technically released, right? I think it's a great game. I think both this and Resident Evil 2 Remake are very good.
Don't worry about me. I'm gonna make other arrangements.
Do they blow my mind?
Better.
Don't know. Where's Tim? Tim no longer works for us.
Don't do anything.
Tim has struck out on his own. Right now he is recovering because he got sick with what I think we must only presume is actually COVID-19. He needs time to recover, but he'll be streaming on his own like personal channels and stuff pretty soon, I think. He needed some time, as you can imagine, to recover. Tim Rogers, my good friend, love that fellow, but he was setting up stuff of his own and just got sick. Right? It's just like that's the world we live in right now. I think he's getting a little bit better, so. Yeah, you can always check in on him on Twitter. He had a rough stretch of time. Is this a zombie that can get up? It's always hard to tell. Oh, it is! You piece of shit. Oh, that's right. Here's a tip for these games. After you have certain items you don't need anymore, the game's like, you don't need them anymore. And you can just chuck them away. This is definitely once again, these enemies I like knocking onto the ground. And you can actually use that to run around them. And so you don't really have to fight them necessarily, right? Is there another here? There is. These are really freaky though. They remind me of Las Plagas from Resident Evil 4, and they can like jump off and put their weird brain suckers on your head. It's very gross. They're also more resilient. So someone's asking like what's special about those zombies. The long range is part of it. They're like infected by Nemesis. It's like the Nemesis parasite, right? Oh god, they nailed me there. I'm surprised. I think I'm okay. Let's go. Are those scarier than head crabs? If they kill you, they just clamp themselves over Jill's head, and it's the fucking worst. It's super gross. Also, this is happening.
Rocket launcher? Really?
You would think to use the dodge maneuver here, but you should just run back and forth, probably. It's safer. There, I used a dodge maneuver to get around there, but not a perfect dodge. Oh, fuck, that hit me. Good thing I have the herbs. In general, because Nemesis can kind of pop up, and like even in there's like these semi-scripted moments, you should have a decent healing item with you most of the time.
Jill, you okay?
Carlos, that monster.
Were there? Somebody says, were there a lot of oh shit moments? The first time I played through this. Yes, especially the start. The start of this game is really good. I think the start of this game is fantastic. Then it kind of chills out for a bit. Well, not chills out, but you know what I mean. Like, it starts off, like, the game starts off at, like, 11. When it could be at, I don't know, 3 and, like, ramp up to it. But it doesn't wait. It just, like, knocks you on your ass. I giggled and went, this is brilliant. Which is, not a phrase I say very often. I don't know if I should have said it. In general, don't say words like brilliant or genius unless you really mean them, right? But it slipped from my lips anyway. So, you know. But I also think Mr. X is brilliant, like, right? I will say that. Mr. X was very smart. This is a different type of enemy usage, right?
And lead
Why is that showing up?
It's okay. Trust me.
Have I been playing Half-Life Alyx at all? I don't have the equipment for it. I just don't, right? Where am I going to get a fucking VR headset that I can use in my apartment in Brooklyn or whatever? It's like, nah. Unfortunately not. I want to because I'm actually a huge Half-Life fan. I was streaming on my personal channel, Black Mesa, which I think is fantastic. Black Mesa is super dope. And Alyx looks really cool. I know people who worked on Alyx, right? Like I have, you know, loose acquaintances and some friends who work at Valve, and you know, they were talking about how cool it is. Oh fuck. He's coming. Lord, he's coming. So, you know. Although I had some trouble with OBS last night where it kept on interrupting my stream, which was a total bummer. Because I would love to play some more Black Mesa. I'm probably going to stream Animal Crossing tonight and open my island up to everybody, finally. That's my Twitch channel.
Hey, you okay? Go. Go!
Come on, forget about him.
This might be the end of it though, because we're gonna get to another segment where I don't think I can, like, they want me to be very careful about showing off some stuff. The game's not out yet, so I want to kind of take Capcom's wishes into like real consideration, right? So we might end it after this. We've been streaming for what, at least an hour, maybe close to an hour, so I think that feels okay. And you know, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm not wearing the default costume or whatever, but you know.
Thanks for this.
Because the next segment you get to play as Carlos. I'll show you it for like 2 seconds. I'll skip some cutscenes
Hell of a lot braver than
and kind of show you at least Carlos for a minute.
Matters is that we can get
I can't believe I messed up so many of my perfect dodges,
Hey, you'll be safe.
but it is what it is. You know, I don't begrudge anybody who says they don't want to buy this right away because it's a little
Be catching the train.
Why not?
like pricey in the sense that I think they want full price for this when, you know,
If it means I can help save
some
the
people want, you know, 30-hour games or whatever. And this is definitely not a 30-hour game. It's a short game with a fair amount of replayability, but it's not a big 30-hour epic. Like, this isn't Neo, right? I'm going to skip some of these cutscenes because I think there's stuff here they don't want you to see. If you know the original Resident Evil 3, you know that some stuff happens on the train. And now we are going to switch, I believe, to Carlos. I can show you some stuff very briefly. Trying to skip some cutscenes so you don't have all the context, but you'll see a couple of things. Carlos and his buddy Tyrell.
Oh, it's been a while. Subway's got to be clear of the city.
Two relatively decent people working for Umbrella.
Nah, she's not like that.
Relatively decent. They're decent folk.
She's not like anybody.
I like Carlos a lot. He's always been one of my favorite characters in the series. Again, I'm pretty biased to liking Resident Evil 3. I like it a lot. Oh my gosh, this place looks familiar. Where are we?
This is the police.
Oh my god, are we back at RPD? With a different character? Weird. And like I said, action game, so you have friggin' assault rifle and stuff, right? Gonna skip some cutscenes because, oh my god, what is that? Who? Let's kill them quick so we don't have to think about it. Dude, is he really not dead yet? I want to kill him because he has an item. I guess you can miss it because my buddy here was just like, "Come on in."
That could be useful.
There you go. There's other stuff that happens in a scene there that I skipped over. So
Don't care. We got a job to do.
there you go.
If our intel's still worth a damn,
But my gosh, it's like some people are like, "How did this game
Custody.
get made so quickly?" And part of it is because remember, part of the game is
Carlos, take a look at this.
right, is set in some of the same areas as Resident Evil 2, and if you've already made them in a previous game, then
Remember, Bard had access to Umbrella's darkest secrets.
it looks exactly like the one in RE2. It is exactly the one in RE2, with some slight differences because Resident Evil 3 takes place technically earlier than Resident Evil 2.
Good to know.
I'll open
It
this
actually
up
lasts
through.
before Resident Evil 2,
Now what's been going on here?
and then a little bit after Resident Evil 2. It's like a big things. I'd be into a Code Veronica
You too, man.
remake, but I think people need to be prepared for the fact that Code Veronica is a weird fucking game. A game which I like a fair amount,
Now here's a weird fucking door. Leave it.
but it's a very odd game. There's a lot of potential there, right? But very odd game. I won't show people everything in this segment, but I'll show people enough, right? I'm trying to skip some cutscenes so certain things aren't spoiled.
What the hell was that thing?
Right, I'm trying to be as considerate as I can to Capcom. But we know some of the monsters that are in here, right?
Couldn't have been a zombie.
Does this game have a girl you can play as too? You play as Jill Valentine for basically most of the game. You just missed it. I think you might have just gotten here.
Here we go.
The hero of this game is Jill Valentine. Carlos gets like the default Resident Evil knife slash, which I think is good. The fuck was that? He has his perfect dodge is a little easier to do. Let me see if I can show it to you. His perfect dodge is not a dodge roll. It ends up being a punch. So if I do this right, yeah, there we go. His is a little easier to time sometimes. But if I get them, if I get this person to stand up again, I'll show you what happens if you aim during a perfect dodge. I should be able to get that again. Carlos's ones are a little more lenient because they're a little bit more direct. And then if you aim, you go into slow-mo for a minute. With Jill's, I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with them today, but it's similar, right?
Big warm
Where you do a dodge roll past a zombie and then you can go into slow-mo. So a little bit more action focused in this game. You're not quite as helpless as you know, Leon or Claire. Even though Leon and Claire are not super helpless, right?
T, you copy? There's something.
If you remember some of the
I don't know what it is.
Something nasty. All right. I'll take a look with the cameras.
if you remember some of the safe combinations and stuff from the original, they still work in this game. So if you played Resident Evil 2 recently, then you can... Oh, whoa! Guy snuck up to me on the side. Scary. That's the scarier stuff, is like when you tunnel vision. And then it's always just knife zombies, right? Knife them in the face too. You see how they fall? That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do in games like this. I forget what the safe combination is in here. But you can use the same combinations from Resident Evil 2 in here. Isn't this from 2? It is. It's the same location as 2. Spoiler alert for Resident Evil 3, a game that came out technically years ago, and which at the very start of that game, you immediately go into the hospital, or not to the hospital, into this. Oh, somebody says it's 9:15:7. Oh, thank you. Especially for these crawling zombies. You really want to just knife them, right? Oh, you fucker! Oh, dude, come on. Do I have any healing items? I have a single herb. Uh, 9:15:7, someone says. There we go. Thank you, folks. But yes, I won't go through all of the RPDs, Carlos, but you can go into some places. I think it's just a gameplay concession, right? It's like, hey, it sucks if you would have to deal with infection. Although some games have done that, right? But even some Resident Evil games have done that. All the Resident Evil Outbreak games, which were the online games, had infection mechanics, and a couple other things had that, right? So this is a 100% safe room because it has the music, right? As opposed to some rooms that have typewriters, but then still maybe Nemesis or other monsters can go in. Which feels like a very academic distinction, but, you know.
If cameras killed those things, I'd be set.
I feel a little frustrated that I really messed up those Jill dodges. Oh, there's the there's the infinite handgun thing just because I played through the game. I didn't even realize I wasn't even using it anymore, right? So I'm just walking around here for a minute to excuse me. Oh no, I suddenly got the virus. To show you what's going on here.
Copy that. Oh, for fuck's sake. Why is it blocked?
I know this one. There's a segment a little bit later on in here where there's just a ton of zombies. More zombies than you could ever imagine. Well, that's not true, but a lot. I know, I've created a time paradox. Snake! definitely have an easier time sometimes with some Carlos stuff. Not because he's an inherently easier character, just because for whatever reason I get the timing on his stuff down way easier than Jill's. So that way I can just like not use any ammo, right? A key, which I think leads to the storage lockers, right? So I think once we get some stuff out of the storage locker, I'll call quits, because I don't want to show you too much of the police station and things, so. But I like this game a fair amount. Is it, you know, of the 3 games that I've played for review right now, Neo 2 was my favorite, for whatever that's worth. I still think this is a very good game. Maybe not... Oh shit, hi bud. Good thing to remember about lickers is that they're blind. Oh shit, I'm missing. I was trying to do my my counter punch there. Ready? Well, no, I should probably heal. Oh no, he jumped right on me. I might die. Never mind. I should just focus on killing the fucker instead of trying to be clever.
99.
One of these zombies is gonna grab my ankle and kill me. Right, that's how that's gonna go. If there's a zombie around this corner, it would suck. But I think I should be fine. I wanted to be all fancy. You can do it with any monster. Any monster has its own timing for a dodge roll or for a counterpunch from Carlos. Is Neo better than Sekiro? They're different. I like Neo a lot. I think it has one of the best combat systems I've ever experienced. Sekiro, I like the pace of it too, though, like the parries and everything. So hey, you would get some items here and go do some stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I think this is the end of our stream. I've showed you plenty of this game. I've skipped as much like big story stuff as I could to try and be good about, you know, Capcom's concerns. I like this game a lot. If you're interested about the multiplayer, which is Resident Evil Resistance, I will be showing that off tomorrow. Paul and I recorded some matches. It's very good stuff. Oh, Dell, I'm sorry. You just got here right before I was finishing. You can always go back and just go on the click on the video tab and watch it from the start. I've played through a fair portion of the game. Do you need PlayStation Plus for the multiplayer? Good question that I'm not sure about. I imagine that you might. Everything these days needs some sort of subscription thing, even visiting people's islands in Animal Crossing, right? Which is bullshit. So I don't know. I hope you liked this. I hope I made sense kind of talking about stuff. I keep on saying it. I'm really bummed I didn't get my Jill perfect dodges down the way I'd like. And, you know, I cheated a little bit, had some infinite ammo, fucking sue me. But this was fun. I like this game a lot. I want to replay the remake, you know, I want to go back and play Code Veronica. I love Resident Evil so much. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you around. Goodbye.